Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Oh man, there is something special inside of this box. Welcome in, everybody. This is a knife I've been waiting for all year long to get released. I've had it now for a couple of weeks. I wanted a chance to play with it a lot, and I wanted a chance to carry it a few times because it is such a uniquely designed knife that I think that people really need to know if it's a good knife to carry, if it's somewhat useful, or if it's just a thing of beauty that you're just going to flip and play with and stare at all day, but not actually use it for any practical purposes. This is the Rike Knife Lamella, and man, oh man, it has exceeded every expectation that I had. This is the packaging that you'll get. Very basic, nothing particularly special about the packaging at all. And this is the knife. Oh, will you look at that? Oh my God, let's get that up there. Let's get it over here, actually. Put it over here and get it out of the way. Maybe down here? We'll find a spot for that at some point. All right. What you're looking at, believe it or not, is only $355. And I say that because what you may not pick up on immediately, if you've never seen this knife at all, this is your first exposure, you may not have noticed there's no exposed hardware. Not even on the backside. Not even where the clip is attached. And you might look at this and go, oh, that's why, because it's an integral. Nope. This knife has a trick up its sleeve. It is not an integral, even though it looks like it, even though you can't tell it from any other integral design that you've seen in the way that it's made. There is a little secret inside, and I can't wait to get to it. Let's start with the specs first. We'll get that out of the way because that, of course, is always important. And then once we get done with the specs, oh, it's such a big knife, then we're going to talk about what the knife is, why I'm excited about it, give you some comparisons, and then, of course, give you my closing thoughts on it. So, first up, overall length of 9 inches. It's actually just a hair over 9 inches, just a teeny tiny little bit. Blade length, 3.86 inches. This is not a tiny knife. As a matter of fact, I really hope that this is a huge success where they will consider making a compact version with maybe just under a 3.5 inch blade would be absolutely amazing. Thickness of the blade stock is 160 thousandths of an inch. It's made of CPM 20 CV. Great steel. Very, very happy to see that. It is flat ground. And the hardness, they have a range of 59 to 61. You've heard me talk about this before. That's a very, very large range. Not in numerical values, but in the Rockwell scale. That's a very, very big variance. I'd rather see it say either one precise number or 59 to 60 or 60 to 61. So that's your range, 59 to 61. It is a trailing point Persian style blade. The lock style is an inset tab lock. You have no exposed hardware anywhere on the knife. You have a sculpted titanium clip with the ceramic beg ball set into the clip. And each knife is individually numbered on the blade. So you're buying a limited edition knife that is individually numbered. First thing I want to talk about is the action. Everybody loves a smooth knife. If you're the kind that really, really wants something tremendously smooth, you must get one of these. It has that wonderful controlled drop where it feels hydraulic. Now, that's the same type of action that Rike put into the Cybertrix, where I don't have a lot of room here to really hold it vertically properly, but it essentially closes itself. It's very easy to see that these have a very similar design aesthetic. Like I said, I've waited all year for this knife to come out. I tried to get it through a proxy buyer that went to Blade Show, and they were all out of these. So that's when I got the Cybertrix. He picked that up for me, and I've had that now for a few months and have thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a very, very cool knife. But my heart was really set on this. You know, the Cybertrix for me was kind of like the consolation prize. Phenomenal, fantastic knife, wonderfully unique design, but this thing, in my opinion, was just pure sexy. The elegant flow of the lines, the triple titanium tones. You've got kind of a dark gray, a darker charcoal, almost black, and then the light gray, all that in titanium. And it just kind of creates this beautiful organic flow that goes with the flow of the design of the knife. The fuller going all the way up the blade and then trailing off toward the tip. You have a few methods of deployment. You have the thumb studs, you have the groove, and you have the flipper tab. We'll go over all that in a couple minutes here. Coming off the heels of the sleek and futuristic designs from Microtech with the SOCOM and the Annex, and then for Decklink's Forever Steel on the Cybertrix, you can see that the Lamella really follows in that same design aesthetic, but this is their own design. This was designed by someone else, and Rike did the work on it. Obviously, with the Microtech knives, those were designed by Tony Marfione, then made by Rike. This is their own design, in-house, their own knife. And I got to tell you, they knocked it out of the park. Now, I realize the market for Persians is somewhat limited. Not a lot of people go for Persians. I do. I think they're so gorgeous. They're so sexy. And it makes for a very comfortable handle. This just curves beautifully in the hand. I will say this. It's not going to be a hard use knife because the way that it fits in your hand, it's hold a banana. It's going to want to shift around and slide up like that. You do have this finger choil, though, for extra control along with the jimping on the spine. So once you've got it held in with that finger choil, it's not going anywhere. So it is a uniquely designed, uniquely shaped knife. It's not going to be for everybody. As far as deployment methods, as you see, you have a very abbreviated flipper tab up here with jimping. They did a great job jimping it. I will say this is about the only thing that I would like to see changed on this knife. This is a very, very sharp flipper tab. Someone that has, I would just say, normal fingertip sensitivity, that's gonna start cutting into you and digging into you. The corners are actually sharp. But yeah, every time you go to deploy it, it's going to be sharp. Good thing is you've got thumb studs. You can thumb flick it. You've got the notch, or excuse me, we can call it a notch. That's fine. But you've got the groove that's been milled in all the way down, so you can actually hit it from any place you want to open this bad boy up. And you can open it from the groove with your thumb. You can't really slow roll it with the thumb studs, because once it breaks the D10, it wants to kind of fly out. So it's going to be relegated to thumb flick, reverse finger flick on the thumb stud, reverse finger flick on the groove, thumb flick on the groove, or slow roll on the groove. So you've got a lot of different ways to, oh my God, a lot of different ways to open it. That action, though, I got to tell you, and this is right out of the box action. It hasn't broken in and changed. I've obviously not lubricated it. I don't put lubrication on any bearing knives that I own because it's not necessary. And I mentioned earlier, there's a little trick that this is not an integral. Before I get to that, let me just show you quickly close up. Come on. There we go. There is the Lamella 2022 laser etched into the titanium. CPM 20 CV, and then your individual numbering right there. Number 29. Now, realize you're going to get a very, very, very oily knife when it comes in. I've wiped this down probably 30 times, and I still get some that seeps out of it. That's how it's going to ship from the factory. It's going to be all over your blade. You're going to have to wipe it off because you'll feel it. If I remember correctly, it even had some on the outside of the frame as well. So you're going to want to take care of that when you get it. I don't like having a bunch of oil all over my knives. All right, so the trick I'm talking about here is the fact that it is not an integral. This top section here, for lack of a better term, is a hood. That dark gray is a hood. You see right back there, you've got a standoff. That's because that's the actual frame of the knife inside. So what you want to do, you want to make sure the blade is open so that you can access this. And you can take whatever tool works for you that will push into that spine. And you can access it from a number of places. I believe their recommendation is to do it from back here, just because it's the furthest point away from where it's hooked in. Now, I have not done this yet. I wanted to do this fresh on camera because I wanted to see, honestly, if it was difficult or not and share that experience with you. I'm just hoping I don't cut myself because I'm trying to do this around a tripod. So we're going to put that in there. I don't know how much force this takes. And I don't want to hold it the wrong way. Come on now. Let's try it from in here. It's not popping that way. You're supposed to be able to just push it right out. Is there a spring? I see a spring in there, don't I? Come on, focus. Come on. There is a spring. So is there a latch to pull on? Hold on one second. I need to take this out from behind the camera and look at it with my own naked eyes, because I thought you just pushed it straight out. But there looks like there's a plate in there that moves on a spring. I want to make sure I'm not screwing up one of my favorite knives here. Okay. There's a reason why there's a spring in there, because you're not just jamming something in there to pry it off. This is like a locking block. So what you're doing, see if I can find a way to hold this where I don't cut myself, but you could still see what I'm doing. So I want to slide this towards the pivot. So as I pull that back, my hand's going to get in the way. Just don't know how to hold it where you guys can see what I'm doing. Pull it back. Was that enough? Yes, okay. So now I should be able to just pry this apart. Trying to find a place to hold it and do that is easier said than done. Oop. Maybe if I switch hands. Then I can put my finger behind the clip and my thumb on there. Pulling back on it. Yeah, that is not coming apart for me. They make it look really easy on their Instagram video. Okay. All right, here it comes. Come on. Ah, the blade was stopping it, so you don't want to have the blade locked open. You want to have it partially closed. Ooh, that is cool. Listen to this. I don't know if that comes across, but it kind of sings. It's like a tuning fork, the way that the titanium cover is. So now you get to see this was merely a cover, and here is the actual knife. Inset tab lock, titanium frame. What a clever design. How bad did I... Oh, I did. I scratched it up like crazy in there, didn't I? Oh, well. Good thing this is a keeper. So these areas here are where the cover locks in. Really, really, really cool. I dig that a lot. Very interesting the way that that works. You wouldn't think of making a knife and then putting a cover over it. But by doing that, they've created a simulated integral knife. Now let's see if it's easy to get back together. So we slide that back on. We hook those in. Click it together. Try not to cut yourself. Wow, you know when that goes back together. Did it recenter? Well, yeah, because you're not taking the framework apart. You're taking a cover off. So there's no danger of it becoming uncentered or changing the action in any way. Everything's the exact same as it was before you took it apart. Okay, so that was kind of a little adventure we went on together, wasn't it? Now, the second time I do this, I'll know what to do, and it'll be super, super simple. But to be honest with you, I don't see a need to ever do that. It's not a party trick. They didn't do that so that you could take the knife apart as part of its regular function. They do that so that you've got the look of an integral knife, and then if you ever needed to adjust the pivot, or something happened and you got some really nasty grime in there and you felt you had to take the knife apart to access it, they wanted to make sure that it was user friendly as far as maintenance. So they give you that option where you can move that locking block forward, slide this off, and then you can access the pivot. You can access the hardware that holds the actual inner frame together, and then you can do whatever maintenance you feel needs to be done. Let's give you some size comparisons here because I know you're jonesing for that. I'm going to put it up against the Cybertrix first. And well, I have to put them clip side up because they don't lay right otherwise. Putting them butt to butt, yeah, it is considerably larger than the Cybertrix. Now, like I said before, I really love the Cybertrix. It is a really, really cool knife, and it's been a lot of fun. But it's not one that I see myself carrying often. Again, it was more of my consolation prize since I wasn't able to get this back in June. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be selling this. So if anybody wants the Cybertrix, let me know. You can just message me. Instagram is the easiest way. And we can make that yours. But this one's going to be a keeper in my collection. As much as I like this, I had my heart more set on the Lamella, and it is everything that I wanted it to be, and maybe even a little bit more. I'm very, very excited with that one. Let's give you a comparison against the Jaeger M from Brian Brown Knives. Considerably larger than that as well, but it's slimmer and sleeker. As far as the way that it's going to carry in the pocket, you'll notice that this is actually going to take up a little bit less room, but it's going to be longer and it's going to go deeper into the pocket. And this is it's a fairly deep carry pocket clip. I've found it very easy to grab a hold of and snatch it out of the pocket, no problems whatsoever. If you have any problems at all with that, you do have a lanyard opening back here, so you can attach the lanyard of your choice. I would do something that's futuristic, like the knife itself, like putting like a cool, like a titanium bead that has tritium set into it or something. Something cool and futuristic is the only way I would go. Now, I'm not going to put one on here because it carries perfectly for me. I'm able to get a hold of it. I'm able to hold on to the knife just fine without needing a lanyard. Oh. Love the little details, too. When you take a look here at the jimping, not only is the jimping in a great place, they've done it right, it's very fine jimping, so if you're doing this, it doesn't feel like it's going to tear you up. But when you put the pressure down with your thumb, it grabs the skin very, very nicely. And it's on a completely, oh man, I haven't really felt it that much before, but that is really nice. A very nice crown spine. So it's very rounded. There are no sharp edges coming in contact with your fingers. They did a great job with that. The finger choil is large enough to actually get your finger into. There have been a lot of knives that have come out with finger choils cut into them that are too small to put your finger into without slicing your finger on the heel of the edge. So kudos to Rike for getting that right. Love the shape of the thumb studs. They're very slick, very cool. They're also, looks like they're doubling as the blade stop. I believe it's making contact. Let's see. Can we get a close-up and see if it's actually making contact? Come on. Well, you really don't want to focus, do you? Come on, focus. Focus on my hand then. How about that? All right, there we go. So is it actually making contact? Yes, so they are serving as blade stops as well. Obviously, you're going to have ceramic bearings inside. You've got the ceramic detent. Perfect lockup. Perfect centering. And an action that's just, it's butter. Absolute butter. And I was hoping for that. I know that that Rike really nails down their actions, and they don't make it where it's just completely drop shut, where it's like a guillotine, you're waiting to slice off a finger. It has this controlled smoothness to it. It's just delightful. It's a beautiful feeling. The first knife I ever felt that on was my Rockstead Shin. And you're talking a, $1,100, $1,200 knife. And I, for the longest time, hadn't felt anything like that. Now we're starting to see a few companies doing that. I don't know how hard that really is, but it must be, because you got the smoothness of the bearings, and they probably just always want to just go shook and just drop straight down. I've got a few knives that do that. But this controlled smoothness, I can't put it into words to properly describe how great that feels. You really have to experience something like that for yourself. I've found myself more often than anything else thumb flicking it. I don't know why. Maybe it's the shape of the knife and the position that it sits in my hand that I just find the thumb studs more accessible. If you have a really, really large hand, you'll probably end up using the flipper tab more often. I use it a little bit less because you see where it sits on my hand? It's right here at the back of the heel of my hand. So it wants to kind of do this because of its shape. If it were right here and like hugging a pocket, makes it a lot easier to access the flipper because it does have a strong detent. Nice and strong. You definitely feel that detent break. I don't even know if I can give you an example of the detent sucking the blade in because at this point it wants to just drop. There you go. So nice strong detent. For me, it's an absolute winner. It's a 100% keeper. I love the futuristic design. I love a good Persian style blade. I love the way that this was designed. It's almost like this cascading waterfall of titanium or maybe like a titanium rainbow. How about that? I don't know about all that. And I think this is going to give them some good opportunities to do anodizing, where you've got all this cover in one color and this in another, and maybe this in raw tie. I don't know. But I just think it's so wonderfully cool. I'd love to see this done where the covers are interchangeable and you can just purchase them. I would buy a Timascus one for this just to dress it up on occasion. Not something I'd want to do all the time, but I would spend $300-400 on a Timascus cover that I can pop on and off. Or different anodized colors of covers for maybe, I don't know, what would sound fair to you? $100, something like that? I don't really know what it costs them to machine these and all that, but I think it would be a cool accessories option if the knife ends up being popular enough that they sell enough to justify the expense of designing and tooling up for that. Otherwise, I can definitely see Rike making different color versions available. I could definitely see them doing like green and purple and blue and different things like that, because there's so much to work with here. You've got, I'm going to keep calling it a cover or a hood, but you've got this cover that you can do in so many different colors. Your thumb studs can be different colors, your pocket clip. So you've got a lot of room for customization on this that I think a lot of people are really going to enjoy. But for me, I like the monochromatic look. That was part of what attracted me to this knife, was this really cool monochromatic, something out of a sci-fi movie kind of look. Same reason I love my Brian Brown Jaeger M. I loved it for I don't usually go for plain Jane knives, but I liked how it looked on that design. I don't think that I would want that anodized in some crazy colors or anything like that. That's where I am with this. It just looks so cool the way that it sits. Very, very, very slick. Like I said before, it does carry very well. It's easy to carry in the pocket. It's not. It's nothing crazy. I didn't give you the weight, did I? Hold on one second. I've been forgetting my scale lately, and I don't really know why. Let's give it a weigh up here. So let's get some comparisons. Jaeger M is 4.3 ounces on a much, much smaller knife. 4.5. And then we get to this big bad boy. It's not that heavy. 5.1 ounces. In comparison to what I just showed you on significantly smaller knives, that is pretty damn lightweight. I'm surprised with that. So all in all, what do I think of it? I think that it is going to be an acquired taste just because of the unique design and also the shape. Like I said earlier, there are not a lot of people that go for Persians. It really is it's an acquired taste, I think is probably the best way to put it. I've owned a handful of Persians in my life, and I bought them because they were so wicked looking and so aggressive looking. But they tended to be knives that I didn't carry all that often. This knife has so many things going for it that I do carry it because I want to play with that action. I want to fidget with it. I love how it feels in the hand. I love the groove. I love the different opening methods of it. So there are things above and beyond the profile and shape of the knife that make me enjoy it more than Persians that I've owned in the past. I think the very first Persian I ever owned back in '09, I think it was, Cold Steel had released their custom series, their higher end knives. And they had one called the Talwar. And I thought it was the coolest thing, man. It was super slick, just like this, as far as the shape of it, very, very aggressively upswept into that Persian. It was very, very cool. And funny enough, way back then in '09, that was $350 or $325. And here we're looking at $355, well over a decade later. And so much higher end, so much better in every respect. Better steel, better action, better feel in the hand, much, much lighter weight. So many things that are done so wonderfully, and you would think it would cost tremendously more than that did way back then. But this has so many things going for it above and beyond just being the trailing point Persian that I see that I'm going to be carrying this quite often. Like I said, I have really enjoyed having the Cybertrix. But as much as I like the knife, and I think it is absolutely super cool, this is the one I'm going to reach for when I'm in the mood for that super futuristic look, when I'm in the mood to feel that action. They have a nearly identical type of action. I'm going to reach for this. There's something about this, and I don't know what it is, that I just find personally more appealing. Ooh. It's going to be kind of hard to let that one go. But hey, you know what? We always have to make room for other stuff. And here's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that Rike is going to make other variants of this. And I'm going to get a little too excited. I'm going to reach into my pocket. And I'm going to make some mistakes. I'm going to end up owning 3, 4, 5 different variations of one knife. Done that before. I could see that happening very, very easily. So let's see what happens in the future. But for those of you like me that like that monochromatic look, this is an absolute winner. If you've been curious about how it fits in the hand, now you see, now you've got my opinion. If normally our opinions align, then I think you're going to be in great shape with this knife. The lock is very, very positive, but it's very easy to disengage. Carrying it is a breeze. Everything about the knife is set up to be kind of like an EDC knife. Like it's light enough to carry. It doesn't feel uncomfortable in the hand. It's got a great action. It's got a solid lock. But this is not an EDC style. You're not going to see somebody carrying this every single day. But the times that you do reach for it, you're not going to be lacking in anything. It's going to cut great. It's going to pierce wonderfully. That is one hell of a blade on there. Really is. They did a great job finishing. You've got that vapor blasted finish on the bevels and inside of the fuller. Then you've got that horizontal satin coming up on the flats and the ricasso. Then all of this is bead blasted and then textured beautifully. It feels smooth, but it has a little bit of texture to it. I like that they went on with the darker tones up here on the cover. I even like the fact that they did this in laser where it showed up as blue. So that got hot enough where it actually anodized color into the titanium. Very slick, very cool. So anyway, if you've been on the fence, you've seen people reporting on this from Blade Show when they went to the Rike table and played with it, and you're like, oh, I really want to know what it's like. If you look at it and think that it's a beautiful knife, you must own it. You're going to be much more in love with having it than just looking at it. It is that nice. So them's my thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to do my best to try to work with Rike in the future and try to get some of their new releases because they're doing all of these incredible projects. We've seen what they've achieved for Microtech recently, where people are saying that their SOCOM Bravo from Rike and their Annex from Rike are, in their opinions, often better than the customs that they had bought in the past that they paid over $1,000 for. So I see Rike right there at the precipice of greatness. They have made some very cool knives in the past. I've supported them for a long time. But they didn't quite have this level of perfection yet. They were being creative, they were doing crazy machining, and they kept raising their own bar. This right here is as close to magnificent as I can picture. If this was made by a custom maker, this is a $1,500, $2,000 knife any day of the week. And it's really nice to be able to access this level of design, this level of creativity, this level of functionality, the fluidity in the action and everything else for $355. It's kind of mind-boggling, but that's the great thing. You're not risking a lot of money. If you throw out for one wherever you get one, you're not throwing out $1,000 and hoping that you like it. It's $350. For me, for my money, absolute 100% winner. For those of you that have either gotten one or are going to be getting one, please come back and leave comments down below and let me know what you think. If I'm off base on any of this, if I'm just blinded by the beauty of it, that I'm missing something, because I've yet to find any fault in it except for the sharpness of the corners of the flipper tab. So for me, That's just a slight little ding on an otherwise amazing knife. I'd love to hear your opinions as well. And until next time, I'll see you on the next video.